Since 2017, the Italian Wine Podcast has exploded, recently hitting 6 million listens. Support us by buying a copy of Italian Wine Unplugged 2.0 or making a small donation. In return, we'll give you the chance to nominate a guest and even win lunch with Stevie Kim and Professor Attilio Scienza. Find out more at italianwinepodcast.com. Chin chin!
Welcome to this special Italian Wine Podcast broadcast. This episode is a recording off Clubhouse, the popular drop-in audio chat. This Clubhouse session was taken from the Wine Business Club and Italian Wine Club. Listen in as wine lovers and experts alike engage in some great conversation on a range of topics in wine. If you enjoy listening, please consider donating through ItalianWinePodcast.com. Any amount helps cover equipment, production, and publication costs. And remember to subscribe and rate our show wherever you tune in.
So we're going to welcome Jodie. Hey, Jodie. Hey, Jodie, you got to unmute.
Yes, hello, Stevie. Okay. I couldn't see the tiny little button.
Yeah, I know, right? They make our lives a little bit more difficult nowadays. How are you? What have you been up to? I haven't seen you in a while.
I know. I actually have a hello to you from Chiara Soldati. I saw her yesterday here in Las Vegas.
I haven't seen her in a while either.
Yeah, well, she's in the U.S., but she says hello. And, I have been just working and trying to stay cool. It's very, very hot out here in Las Vegas this summer. And, just sipping away at Italian wines.
So, we had the huge, as you know, the heat wave in Europe. But as of Monday, even Sunday, things cooled down. And now it's quite nice, actually, in Italy now. So you should hop over. So this is what we call the Ambassadors Corner, where one of our Italian wine ambassadors at large, they get to interview their favorite producer. But before that, Jodie, so what are you doing now in terms of work?
So I am working for an importer that's based out of Chicago.
What's the name?
Michael Corso Selections, and I'm moonlighting on the side at a restaurant here in Las Vegas called Ferraro's, which just won the Gambero Rosso Award for Best Italian Wine List this past year. And so I've been working over there to stay fresh. And, I get to taste a lot of Italian wines that way, too, which is fantastic.
Oh, great. So you're now both working for the Michael Corso and also you're working for this restaurant.
Yes.
Okay. And what are you doing at the restaurant?
I am helping them with their wine program, actually. So,
okay. And how big is their wine list?
It's about 1,200 selections. It's
Holy crap.
Massive. Yeah.
And how significant are Italian wines?
How significant?
Yeah.
It's 90% of the list. There's a 3-page vertical of Gaia. There's another 3 pages of La Spinetta. There is, the wine list is almost 70 pages.
Yeah, I guess you're just doing for the wine.
Yeah. I'm pretty much there just for the wine, but the food is fantastic as well. And it's a lovely family. It's actually a locally owned restaurant. It's not like a big celebrity chef like a lot of the casinos have here in town.
Right.
And
so
they've been in business
who
since
have you seen lately from the Via community?
Who have I seen? Actually, I saw Paul Bologna.
Oh.
He came to, he
He's
came
not
to.
from that part of town, is he?
No, he's from not far away, but he came to visit to see a concert here in town. So we were able to get together and have some lunch and have some wine. And I've seen a few winemakers kind of stroll through the restaurant. It's a must stop for any winemaker that comes into, or winery owner that comes into Las Vegas. They have to come by and see Gino Ferraro. And so that's been great. I'm helping them with some education as well. Actually, when I finish today, I'm going to be going over there and helping the staff learn a little bit about Barolo and Barbaresco.
That sounds good. So listen,
Yeah.
let's get into today's interview. Tell us why. Of course, I know Gaetana. Ciao, Gaetana. I see she has her party hat, so she's new to the clubhouse. Why did you?
Ciao.
Ciao,
Ciao,
come
ciao.
stai?
Bene, bene, in the middle of the harvest.
Oh, how's that going?
It's very good. The white grapes are inside the cellar, so we are more relaxed now.
Okay.
So we are respecting for the reds.
Okay, great. So Jodie, tell us why you have access to all of these producers. Why did you choose Gaetana Jacono?
You know, I recently saw a little post that you had done with her. I had listened to Mark's interview, and I found that like the 7 Lands for 7 Wines project very interesting.
Great.
And I just really was kind of drawn to her energy and her passion. And I also really like Frappato. And
Who doesn't love Frappato? I mean, let's be serious.
And, you know, the fact that she makes 3 different wines with the grape, I kind of wanted to focus on that a little bit. It's one of those things that, for me, I think of it as the high smile quotient. You know, when you take a sip, it immediately brings a smile to your face.
I
It's
didn't
one
know
of those.
that type of quotient existed, but
The smile quotient,
I'll
it's
be
when you
using
take a
that.
sip of something and it just
Yeah, I like
immediately
it.
makes you smile.
Yeah, I love it. And so what you should be expecting from you in terms of learning objectives today?
I really hope that people come away remembering to think outside of the box. You know, when they're deciding on something that they want to drink, I think that's the purpose of us being ambassadors. People have a general idea of they know Pinot Grigio when you say the grape. They may even know Nebbiolo or Barolo, Barbaresco. They know Chianti. And I really think it's important for us as ambassadors to highlight these other native grapes and other regions as well. So,
Okay,
and I hope that
great.
people come away thinking differently.
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to your call with Gaetana. Speaking of the 5 things about this wine, actually the kids started that at the office during the pandemic. And then I had never been part of it, you know, because I didn't want to just like endorse one wine or one winery. And then as I got to traveling and I had some downtime, it all started with Alessio Planeta, actually. I was at his winery and the video team, they were, you know, the crew, they were getting ready to all the setup. I mean, it takes some time. So I started doing that. And I don't know what you think, but I have a great time. I have a lot of the outtakes too. And it's just hilarious because, you know, I'm pretty bossy and I shove this thing in their face. They don't know what to do at first. But I think it's kind of a fun way to also learn about directly from the producers, just the essential things in a way. So I hope you liked it. I guess at least it gave you a high smile quotient.
Yes.
So that's good. So I'm going to leave you now. I'll mute my mic. I just want to remind all of our listeners, thank you very much for doing that, by the way. All of our recordings are replayed on Italian Wine Podcast, where we do have a fairly large audience. The Ambassadors Corner episodes are one of the top listens every single time. So thank you for that. And thank you for also the entire community out there hosting these shows. And thank you, Jodie, for joining us today. So I'll be off. I'll mute myself. Then we'll come back towards the end. Okay?
All right. Thank you, Stevie.
Okay. Ciao.
Ciao. Hello, everyone. Hello, Gaetana. I am hoping that you can start off by telling us a little bit about the winery and a quick history of your family and how you began making wines there.
Hi, Jodie, and thank you for inviting me in this discussion, and thank to the house members that listen me. My winery is Valle dell'Acate, is located in the province of Ragusa, in a small area called Acate. And my family is involved in wine business from 6 generations. I am the 6th generation, and we started our business in 19th centuries, leaving the wine in little barrels to France. And that was my family makes a great job for the area of Ragusa in terms of knowledge of the Cerasuolo and the Vittoria, and especially Frappato. So I can say that Frappato is no secret for us. And we are, this tradition was maintaining, and despite to my degrees in pharmaceutical, I decided to come back inside the winery and inside the value of these two wines that we will. So the winery is quite traditional, but with my brain that it's so creative, great for innovation, and so it's a classical wine with a modern style.
Well, I'm glad you brought up your pharmaceutical background, because I was interested in wondering if your original path of studying pharmaceutical science and your background there, if that has any influence on the philosophy of the wines that you produce.
Of course, yes. I can say that in general, the studying and to obtain the degrees is give us a pragmatism and give us the idea to have an organization for your life to make a result, and you are able to resolve problems, to schedule the things. And of course, it was more easy for me to understand about the sugar, the changing alcohol, what is the malic acid. But by the way, I can say that all the people that study enologists or agronomics can understand this. So that I considered very important. Is my first study that was completely classical, and this mix between classical and scientific helps me to create to have a balance. Looking in the past, looking in the Greek culture, Roman culture, about the wines, and in the meantime to have the brain with the entrepreneur, so a brain that wants to schedule the things. But I can say that this mix, the culture inside me about my study gives to me the perfect idea of the philosophy that I want to have in Valle della Cape, that I can include in one unique word, that is the continuity. Continuity for me is means to take on the duty to maintain quality, excellence, refuting compromise, don't follow the fashion, and respect tradition, and preserve the territory with sustainable technologies, and create a value for these native wines to project in the future. For me, the philosophy of my winery, I think, was born of this. Of course, because my family works in the wines from 6th generation, but my head understood that innovation is fast and could appear in contradiction with the tradition, but it's not true for me. So Valle della Cape shows how innovation is possible in tradition. Actually, innovation is a significant part of tradition. So we have to see the past and to bring inside us, and we elaborate the present. And this is philosophy that allows us the high quality of Valle della Cape wine. We have deep and solid roots, and act day by day through constant enological research and sustainable technology. So this balance between the innovation and tradition was the main philosophy that I want to have in Valle della Cate, and I want to give to the other people that follow me and test and appreciate my wines.
It sounds like it's equal parts history, equal and science and passion.
Yeah. Yes.
So a little bit of everything mixed together. So you use the past to look to the future.
Yes, correct. This is and also I want that this, especially the native wines and the territory of the southeast where I'm located, keep value and goes to the future. So I always think that wine is culture and has to be brought into the future with no rift and interruption. So I work on this. I work and for years we are our wines, our stories, our wine, and I don't care for trends, but for the excellence of native tested on my soil, resulting in excellent wine. So I'm ready to work for years, and if that means the best balance of time, test, and density of single level, I'm here.
So about the property itself, what are the total hectares of the property and how much of it is under vine?
Yes, we are located in the Acate Valley in the province of Ragusa, and the vineyards are around 65 hectares, organic certified, but my family cultivate in organic way path before the certification. Now we are also certificated, and we produce at least at the moment around 250,000 of bottles, and and of course we have a very selected in terms of yield for hectares, and of course you know that if you are organic, sometimes the quantity could be less. It depends on the harvest, but the quality is very good. But so we are a medium-sized wineries, I think, and all the vineyards are located in around on Valle della Cate winery. That it's in the center of this place that is really wonderful, rich of biodiversity. We live in a paradise with birds, and we have also an orange trees esteta close to the vineyards. That is beautiful. It's organic too, and a lot of aromatic herbs and trees. It's quite a little corner, like a paradise, where the vineyards of Valle della Cate are located.
Well, you're painting a beautiful picture. I definitely would love to come and see it. So you answered actually one of my questions about how much wine is actually produced, but do you have the ability to grow your production? And if yes, how much more and when would you like to expand?
At the moment, we produce, because we have 7 soil that we speak later, maybe different wines, but that each wine comes from each soil. But what I have seen and what I want to continue to do is working on the Frappato. I can say, because I'm not a baby now, that we produce the best Frappato in Sicily. And this is the wine in what I want to continue to work, because we really have a speciality, identity, and characteristic very strong of the Frappato. So we live in 3 different contrade: Contrada Bidini Soprano, Contrada Bidini Sottano, and a high plateau of Bidini Soprano. So I have seen that we produce our Frappato in 1 contrada, but now I'm studying how our Frappato is also in other soils, but other zone, other at different altitude, different windy area. So my deal in the future is to increase a little bit the numbers of the bottles, but not so much. I think in 65 hectares and keeping the quality of excellent, we cannot grow so much, but the wine that I definitely choose for grow is the Il Frappato.
The Il Frappato. Okay. Well, before we start focusing just on Frappato, you mentioned the 7 lands or the 7 soils of 7 wines. So could you maybe explain the story behind this focus?
Of course, this was a story because it was a very interesting story because I worked with my father for many years. So when I decided to enter in the winery, my father works in the vineyard and I worked in the winery. And I started to travel around the world to promote my wines, to speak about his story, the family, and the value of this wine. And I understood that all my wines in general was immediately recognized in blind testing. And I started, my brain started to think why I'm so distinctive. And I saw my father that replants the vineyard, the grapes exactly in that in location, very exactly specific. 7 soil, and I understood with his support that the project is born out of 50 years of field experimentation. Before was only empirical and then became analytical. And so we understood the right soil, the master characteristic for each vineyard, giving a unique expression to each wine. So, for example, the yellow soil that is for our Grillo, Zagra Grillo, is sandy clay, and the area is very windy, and the wine's Grillo has a great minerality and savory. So we discovered to have 7 different soil, completely different. And my father and his grandfather and the generation, they always plant the vineyard, the vine exactly in that specific soil. And that was the reason I have so much identity in the wine.
Excellent. So now, with all of the different wines you produce, you actually produce 3 wines with Frappato. The Il Frappato is the 100% Frappato, and then 2 Ceresuolo di Vittoria wines as well. And one is a cru wine, the Era de Era. Could you talk a little bit about each one of these wines and what makes them unique?
Oh, yes. Frappato, as I told you before, is the love of my family. So is a wine unique. It's a very ancient wine in Sicily, especially in the area of Ragusa. The name of the Frappato could be Frappato di Vittoria, and it was always precious in quantity. It's very important to understand that there is a big difference between Frappato Vittoria DOC, made only in Ragusa, Vittoria, and Acate, and Frappato DOC Sicilia DOC, made everywhere in Sicily. The production area and terroir are fundamental for the Frappato. Specifically, we produce our Frappato in a black soil with white stone, and is a clay. We produce it in Bidini Sottana, and the soil is black, relatively compact with the wine stores. The soil structure makes it possible for roots to to oxygenate freely, extending down deep into the ground. That was a characteristic very important to understand the characteristic of the Frappato. Il Frappato is an explosion, is a light red wine, is an explosion of blackberry, strawberry in the nose, and a lot of spices in the mouth, like sage and licorice, and also a flower, violet flower. So Frappato, at the beginning of my life in the wine business, was not easy to promote because it was unusual for Sicily. But we have a story that Frappato is great served chilled. I'm Sicilian, and the combination of red wine and fish is not new for us. And that's come back memories from the past and go to the future, because now many red wine we served chilled and used with fish. But for us in Sicilian, especially in the area of Ragusa, Frappato with the fish was something that came from the past, but was normally for us. Is a wine fresco and boasting. And of course, I can say that put it very contemporary, because varietal and not very muscular. Frappato plays on finesse, not on power. Is a fantastic, is drinking, is a light, silky tannins and tangy acidity. So it's, and of course, is a wine that I can say that is a wine of the past. It represents the ancient story of this part of Sicily, but in the meantime, the Frappato is for modern present, because it's a wine of future. It's perfect with the healthy food. Every people wants to have a glass of wine for lunch, but every people doesn't want to have a strong lunch, but easy lunch, healthy. And Frappato is perfect for fish, for light lunch. So it's a modern wine with a very long story in the back.
And then the difference between the three different wines that you make. Can you talk about each one of those wines?
Oh, that's a wine that we have speaking now. It's a Frappato 100%. So Il Frappato Vittoria DOC. Then the ancient story of Frappato coming also because it became one of the two grapes inside the Cerasuolo di Vittoria, that DOCG. That's today is the only DOCG in Sicily, in all the Sicily. And the Frappato and Nero d'Avola, the other grapes is the Nero d'Avola. So the Cerasuolo di Vittoria is made from 50-50 of Nero and Frappato until the 70 Nero and 30 Frappato. But our blend is 60 Nero and 40 Frappato, because of course in 1973, when the Cerasuolo became DOC at the beginning, Nero d'Avola was an introduction because was put inside to give structure to the wine. Because one time when my family sent the wine to France, the Cerasuolo di Vittoria was made only from Frappato grape. At the 1973, they decided that with the Nero d'Avola inside, the Cerasuolo became a medium body, but the structure and the body was it's Nero d'Avola that gives. And the nose, the floral nose, was from Frappato. And it's in 2000 and and 5, the DOC became a DOCG, and today remains the only DOCG in all the Sicily. But we can produce also the Classico and not. And the mention Classico means that you have to keep the wine inside the winery for minimum 18 months. So I understand that the public today can understand the difference. You can produce a Cerasuolo di Vittoria DOCG, and you can release in the market after 8 months after the harvest. If you want to produce Classico mention, you have located. You must be located in the original area where the Cerasuolo was born, and you have to keep the wine 18 months from the harvest. So there are 2 different Cerasuolo on the market, but I can say, Jodie, with honestly, that the Cerasuolo di Vittoria is not so famous like Frappato, and so sometimes it's difficult to the perception of the difference between Classico and non-Classico. And another thing that we can say that the Cerasuolo name, sometimes people getting confused with the Rosé from Abruzzo, and because we have the same name in common. So the Cerasuolo Valle della Cate BDN, it's our Cerasuolo Classico that we produce in the Contrada Bidini, and BDN is the nickname of the Contrada Bidini. And for this wine, we use only Tonneau for Nero d'Avola, and Frappato remains in tank before to put in bottle, and then refining for minimum 6 months. But in 2013, I asked to a famous wine consultant from Piemonte to come in the winery to follow me to become the best producer of Frappato, and also to start the project for the crew of Cerasuolo di Vittoria, because I was convinced, I was sure that the Cerasuolo di Vittoria can be a wine for long aging. And we started a project many years ago, and from a single vineyard we produce Iri da Iri Cerasuolo di Vittoria. That is Iri da Iri is the name that I found in the last account of the Divine Comedy from Dante, Inside the Paradise, because I tell you a funny story. Every summer I read a book, very boring, only one. That was a book that I read in the school, like Paradise of Dante, Promessi Sposi Alessandro Manzoni, something that is very boring. And in that period, I'm looking for the name of this new wine, the Cru Cerasuolo di Vittoria. And in the last account of the Paradise, Dante see the Trinity like a sun, and like 2 circles, and 1 circle goes over the other circle, giving a sun. So I thought that the circle of the Nero d'Avola goes over the circle of the Frappato, giving the sun. That is the Cerasuolo di Vittoria. And that funny story was the name of the Cru Iri da Iri of the Cerasuolo. The Cerasuolo di Vittoria Cru is a wine that we can keep for long time. He has the characteristic to be a long aging wine. In Frappato remains in Tonneau. Nero d'Avola remains in Tonneau. We use only Tonneau for our wines, not Barrique, and is a wine very food friendly. You can pair with a lot of food, spices, food. Is a great wine. We need only a little promotion, despite the Frappato that run Cerasuolo di Vittoria Walk.
Well, the story of that wine, I think, would really is really wonderful, and for us in selling wines or working as a sommelier, one of the things that I find it helps to promote the wines is the story, and that is such a great story about that cru wine. So the biggest difference between the two then is it is coming from the single vineyard, and then both grapes are done in tonneau, where, just to be clear, where the other Cerasuolo, the Frappato, is in tank, and the Nero d'Avola is in tonneau.
Yes.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you for clarifying. I am really excited about trying that wine. What is the oldest of the Era de Era that you've had? How long and what's the aging potential, do you believe?
I have bottles from 2002, 1998, but that battles was before the arriving of Carlo Casavecchia, the wine consultant. So the first vintage that we have together is 2013. And we can say that because of the bottle that we have inside, we can give 15 years without any problem to long age. And despite that, the wines, the bottles that I have, it was made less better, we can say, than the precious hand of Carlo Casavecchia. But because we work so much on the single vineyards in the Frappato, we work in the Nero d'Avola, we work in the Frappato in tonneau. That is something very difficult for the Frappato, that normally it's Frappato remains in tank. It's difficult to work the Frappato in tonneau. But it's really give us a great satisfaction.
And how much of that wine do you produce?
For the Erie, it's around 4,000 bottles, no more than this. Cerasuolo BDN is quite 50,000 bottles, and Frappato is quite 70,000, 80,000 bottles.
And what do you think the long term, like the aging potential of the Erie is? Like,
I think
10 years, 20 years.
I think around 10, 15 years, that because we have an experience, but not so big, because the first bottle that I have, for example, 1998, are still in form, more rustic, less elegant, but perfect. So we can expect from 10, 15 years because of the Frappato inside.
Excellent. So, and speaking of Frappato,
yes.
for me personally, when I'm first introducing a grape that may be unfamiliar to the average wine drinker, like a Frappato, I try to find a reference to a wine or a varietal that they may already be familiar with. So, and I know that it's noted that the origins of Frappato are from Sangiovese. I think of something like a Cru Beaujolais or a Gamay. It's kind of what I've had the most success with in trying to give someone a starting place or a comfort level when introducing the wine to them. Do you think that's a fair, like, basic comparison, or would you compare it to something different if you were trying to explain it to someone that has no idea what Frappato is?
You are right, because sometimes it's very important the perception that people has from the wine. So at the beginning of the story, the Gamay and Beaujolais, and also sometimes also Pinot Noir, is a good comparison from Frappato. And at the beginning of the story of the fame of the Frappato is what not bad idea to the comparison, especially for the taste and especially for the aging of the wine, especially because the Frappato has a great red color but light. So I think that when people discover Sicily in wines and understand that inside the Sicily there are a different area like Etna that became so famous, like Ragusa, Folcerasuolo and Frappato started to work alone and take an identity. But of course, at the beginning, and I personally think that the Gamay and Pinot Noir is wine that we can comparison of the Frappato. A little bit of Schiava, can I say? A little bit of Schiava, but because I tested the Schiava this summer, and is but Frappato is more complex, more complexity in the mouth of the Schiava. But for example, the color is similar, and the perception of people about this type of wine is so fresh, and that you can serve the chilled, that you drink in for aperitif during the summer, or pairing with fish. It's similar. So for me, Frappato has a more complexity, especially in the mouth. But I can say that could be a quite comparison.
Thank you. Yeah, especially the idea of the chill as well on the wine, I think, is something that connects them together as well. Because I think of Beaujolais being really nice with a slight little chill on it as well. So Sicily has literally and figuratively been on fire this year. You've had fires throughout the island and record high temperatures. So how has this affected your vineyard management and the harvest that's going on right now, and how do you see it affecting the production of the wine for this vintage?
Italian Wine Podcast, brought to you by Mama Jumbo Shrimp.
Oh, Jodie, I can say that this not for the harvest, but for people that want to arrive in Sicily was a dramatic summer. Before we had the problems of the airport of Catania, and people didn't come. So Sicily in the few years, in the last 10 years, became a very popular place to visit, because it's beautiful in the diversity of the area, of the wine, the food, the people, the style. So this summer was a disaster for that. Disaster. But in terms of change of our climate, I can say with clearly that I don't worry. I'm not worried about the water. For example, because my father he was a perfect construction of lake. We have 2 lakes in the vineyards, so we have no problem over water. What I can say I'm not worried for the aridity, and I'm not worried for the hot. But what I can say that we have to understand how is the grapes more resistant in this climate change. And for example, we have seen that the Grillo is much more delicate. Frappato is very wild. Despite that Frappato is a delicate wine, the grapes is very strong. It's very wild. So in terms of harvest, also because we are organic, we can say that we expected for the white, we have seen a little bit less quantity, but good quality. But what I want to study in the future is to pay much more attention in prune, because the prune is very important. We have to take care the grape with not cover much leaf, so clean and clearly. We take care very much the cultivation during the winter and spring, and the prune in winter and the prune in spring will be very important, because we have to be careful. So the hot harvest, it's not a problem for Sicily, because we had sometimes in summer harvest very big hot. So I'm not worried for that. But of course we have to see very well which grapes will be great, will be good for the climate changing. And of course, also the time of the harvest will be very important in the future. So we have to think our wineries, vineyards especially, in respect of what is happening in the world. And this is the time that when you are inside the climate change, and all the world now is inside the climate change, you have to use the innovation, sustainable technology to understand before the events, before that's happening. For example, I'm studying with a startup to put the sensor inside the vineyards to understand if the vineyards needs water or not, and another, for example, to understand if there are conditions of humidity or something that can give some illness, some peronospora or something like that. So I think this is the moment to use your brain to study with innovation culture in sustainable technology, to understand the vineyards, what's happening before that happens.
So you're using innovation to protect the wine rather than change the wine.
Yes.
Or to change the final product.
Yes.
Okay.
I protect, I use the sensor that I can put in the ground that give me the alarm, too much water, too less water, or the condition. For example, you can use the sensor that give you an idea of the weather in the next month. So you take care. So we don't do nothing, but we take care. We have to open the eyes. This is the only before. So this is the only things that we can do, especially if you cultivate in organic certified. So you have to prepare yourself to see what is possible to happen, and of course to put attention which grapes will be better will be more resistant.
I think that's great. And the idea, like you said, you're still combining looking at the past and looking towards the future for the wine. And speaking of that, so for you, what are the most important export markets that you have? And is there a country that you're not currently selling your wines in that you would like to maybe see the wines being sold? We do have an international audience, so it would be a great opportunity maybe to see if there's someone out in the universe that would be maybe interested in your wines.
Oh, thank you, Jodie, for the opportunity. It was when I started to work in wines and I started to travel around the world, and it was in 1999, so it's like a history for me now. And I understood that my 7 wines are brilliant for elegance, but not for powerful. And in this time, the market, the Europe market, and also Italy, but the Europe market expected from Sicily wines very deep color, marmalade, strong tasting, and my wines were elegant, freshness, and velvet. So I had a great problem at the beginning of my work to explain that the soils, the area gives this type of wines. And in 1999, I decided to go in US, thinking that US are able to to drink the wine all over the world. And also the culture gives you the possibility, if you produce excellent wines, to look to you and to give a success. So I can say that the US market became my first market, and I thank the people of the US that gave this success to, especially for Frappato and Cerasuolo. After many years, I decided to introduce the wine Valle dell'Acate in the Europe market because, of course, the condition and the taste of the consumer is completely changed. Now people are very take care the diversity of the different area, and also the food is changed, and my wine is good for Europe also. But of course, I was a little bit in late. So I can say that US is my first market, and Europe is not so efficient for Valle dell'Acate, because especially I was alone, and I cannot go everywhere. But now I am very well supported in US, and the next deal will be to introduce the Valle dell'Acate wines in the Europe market and in Norwegian, Scandinavian, Swedish market that are good market for the wines Valle dell'Acate.
Do you have plans to visit the US, or when was the last time you came to the US to showcase your wines?
Yes, I'm coming because I leave on 11th of September to go in Boston for the Harvard portfolio testing with my importers, and I will spend 3 days of work. I love this because it's, as you see, I speak a lot, and this is my and I love to speak about the wines, the story of the family, because I think the mass value is the storytelling. And then I will go to Atlanta, to the market of Georgia, for 3 or 4 days. So I will come also in Chicago, I hope very, very soon.
Excellent. Well, for everybody that's out there, they know that you're coming, so hopefully they will know to look for you in the next few weeks. And then I was curious if you have any winemaking heroes that inspire you, either from Italy or from other countries, that you want to maybe emulate, or just that you are really passionate about personally.
I can say honestly that in Italy, my region of reference is Piemonte. And that was the reason I wanted a wine consultant that come from Piemonte. Also because I believe and I'm sure that Il Frappato and the Cerasuolo has something in common with Dolcetto, Barbaresco, and Piemonte for me is a great region for to represent the wine in Italy. So I look for Piemonte in general. Then I have I love to see I love the wineries that are women inside. I can do many examples. Elisabetta Foradori, Forteroldego, or the girls of Antinori that have the big deal to follow what his father makes that was great. So in general, I can say that the women in the wine business has found that the value and the maximum expression. Look at us. We are 3 women today that we are speaking about. So the wine gives to the female, maybe it's perfect marriage in terms of, and women are everywhere they are winemaking, they are enologists, they work in communication. So women and wine are perfect, and maybe also the resilience of the women is very important. So I look at all the wineries where are women, and I look always to see someone better than me. That is the one that my parents learned me. Open your eyes and look who is better than you, follow.
Well, it sounds like Frappato is your baby.
Yes.
So you take care of it like it was your child. So you nurture it like a mother. It's really lovely. You mentioned a few places. We have a lot of ambassadors in Canada. Do you have your wines available in Canada too?
Yes, so we have the wines available in Toronto and a little bit in Quebec, in Ontario, in Toronto, in Ontario, in Quebec, in British Columbia. We are starting now, and so the Ontario is good market, quite difficult, but Quebec, it's a little bit more difficult, but we have the wines in Canada for many years.
Well, we only have a few minutes left. If anyone that's here that is listening finds themselves in Sicily and wants to visit Valle dell'Acate, what is the best way for them to make arrangements to come see you?
We have in the website a very good offers in experience because we have 2 different offers: the classical tasting with the sommelier and wines, and also I create a place inside the court of the old ancient structure that's called the House of Pairing, where we have a chef that's dedicated. The House of Pairing is dedicated to our excellence, and the chef cooked the food pairing for each wine, and this is from 4 to 12 people. Then we have a trekking in the vineyards, and in the website we have a lot of experience that you can book and reserve, and it's a beautiful experience to come in Valle dell'Acate. And now I'm opening the bedroom to receive also the guests, and because it's a very paradise, so I want that people remain for 1-2 nights.
Well, I look forward to an opportunity myself to come and visit you on your property someday soon. Is there any place in the world that you haven't visited yet that produces wine that you would like to maybe go visit yourself?
Unfortunately, many places. I was in Argentina, I was in South Africa, but I missed Australia. I was in Bordeaux, but I didn't in Burgundy. So I'm too much concentrated in the value of Frappato and Cerasuolo, and I travel a lot. But of course, I wish to continue my travel around. Australia is a place where I want to go, and of course there are a lot of places, and this is I think the wonderful world of the wines, that it's so big in terms of knowledge that you can learn.
I agree. That is why I am here to soak up all of the knowledge. For sure. And I'm wondering if anyone has any questions. I think we're kind of close to the end of our time. Yes, sir. That sounds
Yeah.
so good.
Listen, I have to. You guys, thank you for so much for this wonderful. As you can see, Gaetana is incredibly grintosa, full of energy. She's like one of those like Duracell bunnies. You can't make her stop. Wonderful story. She has so much to tell. But listen, I have to close up the room because I have to go into another meeting. You guys took the entire time, which was excellent. I loved it. And I hope people can come and visit you, that wonderful space that you've opened. And that is it. It's a wrap. I will see you next time. Ciao, ragazzi.
Swirl, sniff, sniff.
Listen to the Italian Wine Podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We're on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Himalaya FM, and more. Don't forget to subscribe and rate the show. If you enjoy listening, please consider donating through ItalianWinePodcast.com. Any amount helps cover equipment, production, and publication costs. Until next time, cin cin.